This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, I thought that was Khobi Price. There's Khobi Price. There we go. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Khobi Price. Khobi, how you doing, baby?
I'm well. How you doing?
I cannot complain, my friend. Although I trip out on your situation because you were covering a bad football club and now you're covering a bad football team.
Can't escape it, right? Maybe I'm the problem at the end of the day. Maybe I need to look within myself. Maybe it's not Phil. Maybe it's not Manny. Maybe it's me.
I think your boss looked at you and said, "This is the dysfunction expert here." He was the dysfunction of Inter. Let's give him the dysfunction of Coral Gables, and he'll feel like right in place. Like you figure, look at it this way: the most normal beat you've been on is FAU football, dude. How about that? How freaking awesome is that, huh?
Yeah, when you think about it, it's actually been the most, steady. And even then, I had a coaching change like 3 months into the beat with Lane Kiffin. Yeah. But other than that, everything was steady and smooth.
You got to admit the lane train was fun, right? I mean, that's one thing that definitely was proven. The lane train was fun for FAU. So, by the way, follow my man Khobi on Twitter at Khobi_Price, and it's KHOBI. That's right. Khobi right there, _Price. And more importantly, check his workout at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. And as I always tell all of you out there, whether it's the Sun Sentinel, Miami Herald, the Palm Beach Post, subscribe, man, and support our local journalists who work their asses off and do a great job. By the way, reading your stuff, I gotta say, and maybe it's just me and just reading into it, you're happy about being on a college football beat. I gather enthusiasm when I see you and your coverage. Like, I know you kind of enjoyed what was doing with Inter, but it almost feels like you really like covering college football. Am I wrong on this? Because I kind of get it from your coverage.
I think there's also a greater familiarity with college football, at least on my end. I grew up a little bit more around college football as opposed to MLS. Like a lot of, with Inter was like, I was learning so much. And to an extent, I still am like learning so much more so about, the Hurricanes and more so the program specifically. But I think some of the enthusiasm may just be, all right, there are steps that I've already taken just through life, like knowing college football, that I may not have to, like, Inter Miami, I was so much like, I'm learning like so many like smaller details, but I really enjoyed being on that beat. Like toward the end of it, obviously, like right before I stopped the beat, I was having the most fun from, like, even though they weren't playing the best, I was having a good time just because I was like, all right, I'm finding a rhythm. And I feel like I probably found that rhythm earlier just because I have a better sense of, or better familiarity with college football. So that may be a reason for that. Yeah,
because you're doing a great job covering the Canes, and it comes through. So it's just noticeable. But anyway, looks like Manny was insulted by Kirk Herbstreit, huh? And I mean, listen, we've been talking about that on our show for a while now.
Oh yeah,
this administration. New. Yeah, this is nothing new. Herbstreit just brought it and threw gas on the fire, and now it became kind of a California wildfire now that's spreading all over, and basically, but I think it took it to another level now because I think that Manny understands how much damage that can do nationwide, especially for him on the recruiting side.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess I need to paint the picture better. He said all that on his own. Nobody asked him about this. He went on a 5.5, 6.5 minute straight, what you want to call a rant, talking point, whatever. That was all on his own. So clearly it struck a chord with him, or maybe the administration, the athletic department, whoever. They have ears. They're bothered when, one of the most prominent national college football analysts goes on a minute and a half saying, like, this is everything that's wrong. The administration doesn't care. The university doesn't care. Nobody cares. And for Manny, it's like, hold on a second. We care. We just don't have it. Just because we don't have it figured out doesn't mean we don't care. So I think that's more his figure, like, and we're on the process of getting it figured out. That was his point. But yeah, they're bothered by this. And I think Manny's like, oh shoot, we can't, his big thing is we can't scare off recruits, because to him, that's the way they're going to get out of this. Just recruiting better, bring in better guys. bring in better coaches. Like, I think it's also not just recruiting players.
Yeah, you got to develop those players. You got to coach them up. You know, when Amari Carter last year is continuing to headhunt and you don't stop it, that's coaching, dude. I mean, I watch Flo on the other side, and I know lately they've committed some penalties more than normal, but normally his teams are pretty disciplined. That's coaching. You know what I mean? I don't see discipline from the University of Miami, and that has nothing to do with you being a 1-star or a 5-star when it's all said and done. If you know how to coach, you're going to make everybody better, no matter what kind of talent that they possess. And that's the problem I see with Manny, that he doesn't make them better. That's it. Doesn't matter the stars. I'm just watching the players, period.
And to me, the thing is also that, you know, right now there's been a whole lot of debate about the veteran players versus the young players. Should the veteran guys get more time versus the young guys get more time? Because the young guys supposed to have this untapped talent, this untapped potential, this, you know, a lot of talent. It's not like the veteran players from, you know, the 17, 18, 19, like those recruiting classes. They weren't like, you know, those were highly, you know, ranked classes.
Yeah.
They just didn't pan out. Like, well, some of them obviously did pan out, and some of them are in the league, of course. But some of them just didn't pan out in the way that you were hoping for. And that comes back to what you're saying, developing of talent. Like, it's great you can have all the stars you want. You can have all the 4 stars, get a couple 5 stars. And obviously that gives you a better edge against competition. Like, the more 5 stars, the better. Talent is talent. Usually at the end of the day, it's going to develop on their own. But some of the guys just need to be developed better than they have. And that's the key that feels like it's sometimes missing. Maybe that's why, you know, Manny's like, to his credit, the coaching staff has changed pretty fluidly since he took over the top spot. So maybe he feels like that's another area that can develop, but that's the key to me. Like, you're bringing in talent. Now it's like, what do you do about that talent? Does that talent stay? Does that talent go to a level that it wasn't expected to when you brought them in?
And that's that leads me to this part of the conversation. One, I'm fearful for the program that the transfer portal is going to be pretty active if they have a bad year, obviously, with the current guys that you have in. And then on a night like tonight, you've got recruits in the building also that you're trying to convince. And you know the crowd isn't going to be a good crowd tonight for Virginia. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Virginia brings a crowd that you can actually hear in there, you know, because there'll be a couple thousand, 1,000 or 2,000 Virginia fans, and you might be able to hear them in that building because it's not going to be so full with Canes fans. So the atmosphere is also something that will turn off some of these recruits, because, you know, you're reading that these recruits could, you know, they're going to Georgia and visiting other places. And when they go to those other places, those places are packed. And they see a rabid fan base, and they see great support and all that stuff. And they don't have that here. And in the end, they can point fingers at everybody else. They got to look in the mirror. That's the reason they don't have the same kind of buzz, because they haven't created it. How much are you concerned? Well, you shouldn't be concerned because you're the writer. But I mean, how concerned should Canes fans be that this portal could be opened in all the wrong ways this offseason?
Well, before I answer, I want to ask, kind of touch on what you mentioned before with the recruits. Think about it. This is going to be their 4th home game in a row in Miami Gardens. Depending on tonight's result, they're either going to go, you know, 2-1 or 3-1 in that time. And obviously the win over Central Connecticut State, that is what it is. That's the program that it is. You have a bad loss to Michigan State, and then you have a very, if you want to call anything a bad win, a not so great win against App State.
An unimpressive win against App State.
Precisely. And I've talked to a couple of recruits who I've asked them just straight up, like, how does this affect your recruitment, et cetera? Like, some teams have got some bad starts, but some of them are like, I want to see how they finish. We got to see, like, how this plays out. To their credit, they're saying that they may be thinking, oh, shoot, this is not the program that I thought it was going to be. But I think some of them are taking the long road, like, this team, and for some of them, they're high schoolers. They may, you know, have bad starts to their own seasons and be like, we can play it out. The transfer portal, I think what's going to really determine that is just the long game. How do they finish? And also who winds up, like, more so the veteran players, who winds up staying.
Right.
like whether it's some guys try to go to the league, or maybe some of the young guys are some of the young guys are like, as the season goes on, they start to take more and more. Like we saw James Williams get listed as a co-starter for tonight's game versus Virginia over with Gervin Hall. We're starting to see some of the younger receivers start to get a little bit more playing time here and there. Maybe some of the older guys see the writing on the wall and say, if I came back here in 2022, I may not get the reps that I want to do X, Y, and Z, whether that's the showcase for myself for potentially being drafted, or just have the senior year I was hoping for. So it could go, some of the young guys get frustrated with the lack of playing time, or, the young guys start grabbing that playing time. The older guys like, look, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z with my other, year or two left in my career.
Khobi Price joining us. Remember, you can follow him on Twitter at Khobi_Price. I would imagine King out, Van Dyke in. Is that what's going to happen tonight? Is that what you're expecting?
That's my expectation. I haven't gotten an official word on it, but as of right now, my expectation is that Derek's not going to play. After the game against Michigan State, he had the brace on. Last weekend against Central Connecticut, he didn't have it on. Manny said he's moving around a little bit more. I'm not exactly sure what that means. This is an upper body injury. I would imagine he can still run and whatnot. But also another thing that I wish I asked Manny is why, like, if Derek doesn't play tonight, he can get 16 days off until the next game. 16 days of not getting hit, 16 extra days of being evaluated more, because you don't play North Carolina until October 16th in North Carolina. So I would imagine that's also part of the equation. Obviously, it's the ACC opener. You want to start off strong, but also we have 7 more conference games. If we can get Derek healthy for 7 of them, just give him an extra 2 weeks rest, then I would imagine that goes into the equation. And you also may see Jake Garcia come in the game, depending on how Tyler does and if they have a game plan of playing them both.
By the way, their QB, Brennan Armstrong, he takes care of the football. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's been, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. And that's going to be big for Miami, just be able to find a way to get to him, whether it's just containing through the edges or blitz packages, just because you can't let him sit back and just throw the ball around, just have all the time in the world, because he will burn the Canes if you have that opportunity, if he has the opportunity.
13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So the kid, obviously, 4-to-1 ratio. That's pretty good. Now, while he's good, Virginia's not, right? I mean, so this is a game that it's a winnable game for Miami. I mean, hell, the Vegas has them favored by almost a touchdown. So they obviously feel that they're, 5.5, 6.5? What is it?
Last time I checked, it was 5.5.
5.5. So, you got them almost at a touchdown there overall. So they feel that they could win. What do you see in Virginia that Miami could take advantage?
Well, Virginia's defense has just been awful. Completely off. I think they've allowed 96 points in the last 2 games, over 1,000 yards combined. This is a game that, regardless of who's at the quarterback, whether it's Derek, who I'm not expecting to play, but just throw him in there, Jake, Tyler, Cam Harris has to come alive. Just because I think this is the kind of defense that they could take advantage of from a running standpoint and just get those yards, just get those yards and be a more efficient team in the red zone and just be able to punch touchdowns in a way they really haven't outside of last weekend. Once you get inside, the other team's 20, other team's 25. This is a game where I think they can take advantage of the run defense and just control the tempo, control the rhythm of the game.
When I look at the struggles with the team, I'm not necessarily surprised, because I don't really have a lot of hope for Manny. I got to be honest, Khobi. He just, after, I was all pumped up about getting him from Temple, and I thought it was the right guy. After the first year, it was such a turnoff that I have just not been a Manny believer. But I thought Rhett Lashley actually had a little something to him on the offensive side. This year has not been very impressive for Rhett Lashley. And when I look at Will Mallory, who should be one of your better weapons, and we were kind of expecting a better year out of him, I don't see that either. So kind of a 2-part question. What's going on offensively in your eyes with what you see with Rhett? And then on the flip side, what is it that's going on that Mallory isn't a bigger part and having more success?
Some of it with Mallory, some of it's on him, to be honest. Like, he's had a couple of just crucial drops. He had that one drop, easy touchdown right there on the money, and you just drop it. And I know that's the biggest drop, but he's had other drops during the season. And I'm not sure if that's been, whether it's a confidence thing or whatnot, but he's also just been targeted less. Like, I think since that one play, he just hasn't been targeted. He didn't have a catch at all against Central Connecticut State. And that Central Connecticut State, that's the game where, everybody gets some numbers. So I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but they just have not been able to really key in on their tight ends. And it's also been the same for Elijah Arroyo for the most part. Like, tight ends have almost been a non-factor when it comes to the passing game with Miami. In terms of Rhett and the offense, some of it is, the offensive line hasn't gotten itself together. Like, tonight's going to be the fifth game. So
after all that talk about the experience of the line and all that, but in the end, we should have seen it coming, right, Khobi? Because you haven't really performed at a high level. So all of a sudden, that one off season, we add all this experience that you're supposed to become really good players. I mean, it's kind of like waiting for Navon Donaldson to wake up after 87 years being in the program, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have experience, but the experience also has to perform, and it just hasn't. And it's also, they lost, losing Jalen Rivers obviously hurts because he has been one of their, I guess, better performing, at least how they saw it, better performing offensive linemen. But they just had too many changes, and not enough performance from the guys who have been there. So not having a good offensive line, it's just going to make things a lot tougher. It hurts the run game. You can see it. De'Eric had a shaky start to the season himself. Even in the App State game that they won, he had a little shaky start. So nothing's been clicking. Nothing's been able to click. If they are able to establish the offensive line, it doesn't have to be, and you lose Jalen Rivers. So it's not going to be your best unit, but just show that you can provide some push. Just be able to, turn a 1 yard run from Cam Harris into a 4 yard run, a 4 yard. And then another guy, Cam Harris, just has to get downhill better because a lot of things haven't been clicking. I've liked the wide receivers outside of the drops. They do seem to have a lot of talent and a little bit of, I guess, wiggle to them. Yeah. But there needs to be a little bit more, get the yards after the catch. Not just, all right, I have the catch and now I'm down in like 3 yards. Be able to wiggle around some tackles, break some tackles, and just get for it. So there's just a whole lot not clicking right now from multiple different positions.
Oh, Brinson made one hell of a catch last week. Damn, that was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life, period. Not just this season or whatever, or not just college, just one of the greatest catches I've ever seen in the end zone. That was just absolutely awesome. All right, what's your prediction, Doggy? What happens tonight? Does Miami win, or are you predicting an ugly upset here?
Yeah, I think Miami wins.
Or is it an upset? I don't even know.
Yeah, if Virginia won, I don't think it'd be an upset. Miami is not good enough right now to be to lose a game and be considered an upset. Let's just say that.
Right.
But I think they're going to win tonight. My prediction, I think, was 27-26. Virginia always has played Miami tough the past few years. Just really close games.
Yes.
I know that Virginia's deep. This is the kind of year that you may think, Miami's offense should be able to explode because Virginia's defense is just not it right now. However, I do think Virginia has enough to offensively to just keep up. This is actually going to probably be one of the highest scoring games in recent history between the two programs. It's always stayed below the 20s, but I think this is going to they're going to get above the 20s, get closer to the 30s. But I think Miami will pull it out just barely. And I can feel it now. Canes fans probably aren't going to feel great about the win, but they're going to get the win. That's how I see it.
Well, listen, as long as they win, I'll be happy with that. Another loss, and it's just frustrating as hell. All right, follow my man Khobi. If you are a Canes fan, he does an excellent job for the South Florida Sun Sentinel at Khobi_Price. Khobi, as always, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you immensely.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
This is the Big O Show. This is the